the brief was to have 4 individual artworks, like a trail, spread through Porthmadog rather than one big one. I rapidly developed the idea that, okay, well, this is like a family of objects, and the one in the harbour sets the precedent, this idea of 2 simple columns, in that case in the harbour in wood, with a lot of slate contained within them. So very simple pillars, with the notion of slates being contained in the oak frame, rather like the slates were packed into the wagons coming down the Ffestiniog Railway, or indeed the ships themselves. So from the harbour, very quickly, it sort of radiated out into being this family of pillars that had a resonance to each other, but each one celebrated its own individual location. So the one in the harbour is about shipbuilding and packing the slates into the ships that would then carry the slates all over the world. As a sculptor, fascinated by the shape of ships, but particularly the Porthmadog slate ships, which were the high point of sailing vessels. Right at the end of the history of sail, Porthmadog developed this incredibly efficient hull that could cut through Atlantic waves very easily, but carry a load of slates and also be very robust, but very manoeuvrable, and be able to be sailed by just often 6 or 7 men. It's quite a small crew. The shape of those ships was also a big inspiration to me, so I was well aware of all that. And then, of course, with the Slate Heritage, World Heritage Site designation, this is all about making the link from Blaenau Ffestiniog down to Porthmadog. The one in the nearby park is about the sail making and rope making that used to go on. The park used to be a rope walk until the 1850s, which is why the area was kept flat and open. And it paints this picture of Porthmadog being, and the whole slate industry really, having to be self-sufficient. In the early half of the 19th century, there was no railway coming through to Porthmadog, and everything came in by ship. They had to make as much as they could using local materials, and so you get this, the use of local oak to make the ships. You get iron foundries set up to make everything possible in the valley, and you've got this dramatic need up in Blaenau Ffestiniog for all these resources to be sucked up the valley, taken up on just the Ffestiniog Railway, a tiny little railway, to feed the demands of the quarry. The ropes were made there, the sails were made in the buildings behind the park, but also there, because of the shipbuilding for Porthmadog, they had their own navigation school. And so the poetry that I've written that's on each individual pillar in the park, for example, references this idea of navigation and these little ships that went from Porthmadog all over the world, just navigating not by GPS, but just by stars and where the moon and the sun were. It's a phenomenal thing, and that was all taught in Porthmadog at the navigation school. The Llechi Leisure Centre is about the mainline railways, the Cambrian Coast Railway, because, as I mentioned before, there was no railway until the second half of the 19th century, and the 1868, I think, 67, all these raw materials that they were so desperate for. The Porthmadog was desperate to have this station. The local industry and councillors, they were so desperate. They were pleading with the Cambrian Railway to open the railway through up the Cambrian coast. And what is easy to forget is that Porthmadog was actually an incredibly busy station. Somebody said to me there were over 100 people employed there. And all that area, which is now the Llechi Leisure Centre and the car park, was an incredibly busy railway yard. Cob Crwn, which was about very much about the tides coming and going, and the estuary, and more about the natural life and the view from there. But also historically, thinking what that whole area that you can see from Cob Crwn, what it looked like before the Cob was built, hence the map that's there. People, the historians like Martin Pritchard, gave me a lot of advice about the islands. There used to be 17 islands in Troeth Mawr before the Cob was built. Of course, they're all just surrounded by sandy soil now and cows. So lots of input from different people, but to give you a little picture, to every detail has been thought about. Every detail is, I hope, correct as well, because even the fish that is depicted on the Cob Crwn, my assistant, is a keen fisherman, and I said, "Come on, Ed, what fish would you have had before the Cob was built? What fish would have swum up the Glaslyn?" And he said, "Sea bass, has to be sea bass." And so the fish that is, even the fish that are depicted are correct. I wanted to involve the school children to actually make something, not just draw something that I then transferred, but I wanted them to actually make something that then became part of the sculpture, because I find that's a wonderful way of involving a community and getting a sense of ownership and a sense of, hey, we can do this, we can be creative and be involved with this process. But at the same time, it keeps artistic and quality control in the hands of me as an experienced artist and so on. I know how to make something so it will be robust and last, whereas an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid is going to stick a few bits of clay together and then it could easily get broken in the kiln. So what we did was I went into Ysgol Evian Wyn and we worked with the year 6, so 10, 11-year-olds, and they all made shapes in clay of shell shapes, all shells that you would find in this area, not tropical shells. And then what I did was cast their shells into a gel, a sort of resin gel, that I could then have a mould and then a sort of quick setting liquid concrete into those moulds, so I could make multiple editions of their shell, but also it would be robust enough.